Hi everyone, welcome to Cooking with Suzanne. So today I'm making a pork ragu, and I already seared my pork shoulder. This is about 2.5 pounds. You can use anywhere from 2 to 3 pounds, and you just sear it really nicely on all sides. So this took about 7 to 8 minutes on medium-high heat. You don't want your oil to burn, and you certainly don't want the pork to burn. You just want it to be a really nice brown. Okay, golden brown. And in my pot here, I have to grab some pot holders. Be right back. So in my pot here, I have 1 large onion diced, 2 carrots diced, and 2 celery stalks diced. That timer was for my onions, celery, and carrots, which you can see right here. I've been sauteing them for about 7 minutes. And now what I want to do is add some finely minced garlic. I'm going to put I never put it in till the very end because I only want to sweat this or saute this for about a minute. Otherwise it gets too dark. So let's put in our garlic. I would say there's a good 2 tablespoons here. So anywhere from 5 to 8 cloves of garlic finely minced. And let's mix that. I also have my oven at 275 degrees. I'm going to braise this in the oven very slowly for about 3 hours. Okay. So once you can smell the garlic, you know you're ready to go. Smells great. And then for herbs, spices, I have 2 bay leaves, and in here I have 1 stem of fresh rosemary that I chopped, and about a tablespoon of fresh chopped sage. You could also use dried herbs, but do much less, so a half a teaspoon of each would probably be enough. Okay, so there's my herbs. And we're going to add some red wine. This is a nice dry red wine, it's a French wine, but you could also use white wine too if you prefer. Some people can't have any wine at all in their food, and if that's the case, then you can certainly use just a little bit of water. I wouldn't use a whole cup though. This is a whole cup of red wine. And what you want to do is scrape the bottom. What's on the bottom of the pot is called fond, and that's just flavor. So you want to get that into your sauce. So that's totally done. And now we can add our pork. Okay. Throw the pork in there. I'm going to turn this all the way up now. And I also have 2 cups of unsalted chicken stock, and I have 2 28-ounce cans of tomatoes that I used my immersion blender. So there's little pieces, little chunks, but it's not totally pureed. But if you want it totally pureed, you certainly can. And we're going to add that. I just want to get the alcohol out of the red wine first, and then I will add my tomatoes and my stock and my fresh herbs. And then I have another little ingredient that makes the sauce absolutely delicious. So you can actually take a little teaspoon and just taste the wine to make sure that the alcohol is gone. Yep, it's delicious. Okay, so now let me put in my 2 cups of chicken stock. And I don't want to forget to tell you, I like to do things in stages, so I'm going to let that come to a boil before I go ahead and put in my tomatoes, and then let that come to a boil. The other thing I want to mention is that I will cover this, and I have it in a low oven, 275 degrees. What you're looking for is it just to simmer, bubble slowly. You don't want it to boil hard. If it is, you need to lower your oven. If it's doing nothing, you want to raise your oven maybe to 300. So after about 30 minutes, make sure you check to see how it's doing. And after an hour and a half, I will turn my meat over, cover it, and let it go. What you're looking for is to take your fork and put it in the meat, and it should come out very easily. That's when you know that the pork is ready. Then you're going to take your pork out of the sauce, you shred the pork, and you put it back into your sauce, and you're all set. It's wonderful with some fresh pasta, and I love to top it off with a mound of fresh ricotta cheese that I put a little bit of Parmesan, and I put a lot of fresh herbs, some basil, some parsley, whatever herbs you happen to really love. I love basil and parsley, so I'm going to add that. Okay, there you go. And now we can go ahead and add our tomatoes. By the way, when I seared the pork shoulder, I seasoned it very liberally with kosher salt, diamond kosher salt, and black pepper. I'm going to, once I add the tomatoes, I'll taste it to see if it needs more salt. You don't want to over salt it, but you don't want to under salt it either. So I'm not going to add any salt yet. I'm going to bring this all to a boil, taste it, and see if it needs just a little bit more salt. Okay? Okay, this is boiling nicely. Let's put in our tomatoes. So the pork is not completely covered. It's covered, I would say, 3/4 of the way. And that looks pretty perfect to me. Okay. And now we can add our rosemary and sage. If you don't like rosemary and sage, it happens to be two herbs that really taste great with pork. You don't have to add it. Thyme, which I absolutely love also, you could use fresh thyme, or don't put any in at all if you don't want any of those flavors. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put in the rosemary and sage. So for the ricotta cheese, just to mention that one more time, especially if you serve this with a nice fresh pappardelle or even a nice egg fettuccine, this is absolutely great. It would be about, if you use 1 cup of fresh ricotta cheese or ricotta cheese that you get from your supermarket, add about a tablespoon of heavy cream to make it nice and smooth, and then you're going to add some fresh basil and some fresh parsley, about a tablespoon of each, and then a couple tablespoons of freshly grated Parmesan cheese, and just put a nice dollop of that on top, and then it melts right into the sauce, which is great. Okay, our last ingredient, which we have to wait till this comes to a boil. I take a pound of sausage, pork's sweet Italian sausage. You could even do half and half. You could do half sweet, half hot. Take it out of the casing, and then you're going to just drop it in little mounds into the sauce. And the meat just melts into the sauce, and it gives it an incredible flavor. Okay, so I first want this to come to a boil before I go ahead and add the meat. It's almost there. Let me just mention it one more time. 275 degrees covered for an hour and a half. Go in, turn your pork over, let it go for another hour and a half, and then that's when you start checking with your fork to make sure it is super tender. You don't want it to be tight in the center. You want it to be nice and tender so that the meat is just going to shred apart, which you're going to then put back into your sauce. This is probably a good time for me just to taste to see if it needs any salt. Yeah, I think I'm going to put about, this is going to reduce too, so keep that in mind. And when it reduces, the sauce is going to reduce when it's, you know, braising in the oven. So will the salt intensify. So be careful with the amount of salt that you're going to put in. I think I'm going to use about just a half a teaspoon to start. I don't want to oversalt this. So I'm just going to add about a half a teaspoon to the tomatoes. And now I can start adding the sausage to the sauce. Better. Okay, so you're just going to break up little pieces of the sausage. This is 1 pound. I'm using sweet Italian sausage, but I really love the hot sausage too. I love a little bit of heat in my food. Not a lot, but a little bit. Okay, I'm right down to the last bit of the sausage, and I'll just give it a little bit of a stir. Then I'm going to cover it and put it right into the oven. Then the oven does all the rest of the work for you. Okay, this looks terrific. Here's our cover, and it's going in the oven. So when this is done in 3 hours, I'll come back, show you the pork, we'll put it into the sauce and you can see it. Okay, be back soon. Well, it's been 3 hours. After the first hour and a half, I turned the pork over, and let's take a look. Oh, it's beautiful. Super, super tender. Absolutely perfect. So what we're going to do is take the meat out and put it on a tray so it can cool for a few minutes. And we can remove the bay leaf. I think there's another one in here. Here it is. Here we go. And what's nice is there is a little bit of fat, and wherever the fat is, because this is so nice and fully cooked like this, you see how it just pulls apart? Then you can also remove the fat very, very easily. All right? Look how beautiful this is. It's gorgeous. There we go. Okay, take that little piece of fat off. And all you have to do is just shred the meat like this, like so. And then take your meat and put it right in your sauce. And just keep going with your meat until it's all completely shredded. I'll put the ingredients in the description for you. Okay, here's the end of it. Now let's slide this over so you can see it. There we go. And just stir in all of the meat. Look at this beautiful ragu. Ah, looks wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna try to lift this up. It's so you can get a really good look at it. But here is our beautiful pork ragu. I can't wait to dig in. Okay, that's it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this class. It is so good, and with fall coming, you can even make this, put it in quart containers, you can freeze it. Take care, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.